The most dipshit, idiotic piece of writing advice to me was always write what you know. I studied film and screenwriting for a good chunk of my life, and I always wanted to make horror, action, or sci fi movies. I didn't want to write about my family or things I experienced. But in all honesty, it can be a great piece of advice. The Wire is written by a former cop and journalist from Baltimore, so what you see on screen feels exceptionally real. No one else on earth could make The Wire. But what if you didn't live in one of the most fascinating American cities during a turbulent time in the country's history? Does this mean that in order to write something honest, you are changed to your upbringing? That if you grew up in a boring suburb, you are just fucked? I think this is the most common misconception of the advice I mentioned. The thing is that the advice, write what you know, isn't as bad as I used to think when I was younger. It's just that it needs a bit more context. Paul Schrader has a brilliant masterclass on screenwriting where he explains that you should use your problems and tell them through a metaphor. For example, he argues, if you're a closeted gay man scared to come out to your family, you shouldn't make a story about a closeted gay man scared to come out to his family. You should use the pain, the anxiety that you know, to write something like a story about a spy, because no one else knows what it feels like to conceal a big part of your personality. You are telling your story through a metaphor. Weapons was my favorite film of the last year, and while at first sight it may seem just like a crazy horror retelling of Magnolia, it is actually a deeply personal film. The screenplay was written as a way for Zach Cregger to cope with the loss of his good friend Trevor Moore. The section with Alex, a little boy forced to take care of his parents, is inspired by Cregger's childhood. He grew up with an alcoholic parent, and he knows what it's like for evil to take over your house. He knows the feeling of having to go to school while your home is in chaos. This is honest writing. As I'm making this video, the two biggest, hottest, most successful films are small horrors, Obsession and Backrooms. Well, there's a huge Star Wars movie, the first one to be released in a cinema in 7 years, and the box office is depressing. Two young directors are the champions, while the classic film franchise is a rotting corpse lying in a ditch somewhere. You could say that it's simply the rise of the younger generation, that Star Wars was made for boomers and their culture is dying. And yes, fuck boomers. But I don't think that's the reason Mandalorian lost. Let's go through the movies one by one. Obsession is about a guy who makes a wish for his crush to love him, but things turn spooky when she loves him too much. At first, it may seem like a simple premise. A wish goes wrong is an idea that has existed for a long time. And you could say that that's all it is. A cool what-if scenario turned into a movie. But I disagree. The important thing is, why did Bear want the love of Nikki so much? The film starts with Bear finding his cat dead in his home. It's because the cat got into a bottle of pills that were lying around. This is an important part of his character. It's not just a man who is down bad, there is something wrong with him. He is a fuck up, and what he needs to do is to work on himself. But he doesn't see that. I think he wants a woman to save him. He believes that love will make him whole, and doesn't realize he ultimately needs to help himself. He doesn't even see Nikki as a full person. I find this to be incredibly relevant. We always hear about male loneliness and lobsters or whatever, but the truth is that we do live in a world where young people have no mentors and feel kind of lost. I may sound judgmental, but there is a level of sympathy towards Bear's pain. If you're a human being, you've probably been in a situation where you desperately wanted someone to love you. This is honest writing. Backrooms is thematically about the paths we take in life. It is said that the paths we already took, that we already know, are easiest to follow. They are wired into our brain, and going on a new path is difficult. This to me is a brilliant choice for the film. I guarantee you that if you walk into a bookstore right now, you will see 1,000 self-help books about change. People want to change. We want to get better, but change is hard. Discipline is great, but not easy to achieve. I myself have been in situations where I wanted to change, only to end up the same a month later. It's an idea everyone can sympathize with. It's honest. One could say that this film was only slapped onto the idea because that's what a screenplay has to do. So let's forget the story of the film and just focus on the basic idea of Backrooms. It may be a bit harder to pin down, but I think that there is something incredibly Gen Z about it. It's almost an instinctual feeling, but let me try to put it into words. The concept of an endless, soulless place feels current because the world is an endless, soulless place. We are controlled by corporations who grew so much they have started cannibalizing themselves, which turns into a process of everything getting shittier. Our world is an always growing but soulless place in which we can't be sure of anything. Going back to House of Leaves, the granddaddy of liminal horror, the sentence, "There is a house that's bigger on the inside than the outside," is terrifying. It implies we can't be sure of anything, not even basic laws of physics. And today is a time of great uncertainty. And that's my take on the meaning. I've seen people claim that the film is about AI, a thing that can only make imperfect copies of the real world, or that it's a film about the internet, a soulless, endless place full of disturbing imagery. Now, I know what you'll say. Fuck you, you're reading too much into it, kill yourself. But my point is this, you don't live in a vacuum, and neither do your ideas. There is a great documentary about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, cleverly titled Chain Reactions, and they talk about all the influence the film had, but also its meaning. They dig deep into how it's a film about violence, masculinity, the Vietnam War, or astrology. Maybe Tobe Hooper wasn't thinking about all those things when making the film, but he was living in a specific time in America, and those things must have shaped him whether he realized it or not. So you don't have to actively think about what you know when writing. If you live in the world and pay attention, really pay attention to what's happening, something will enter your subconscious and your writing. And that's why The Mandalorian failed. It is a film written in a vacuum. There's not a drop of honesty in it. It's a soulless, corporate toy commercial. 5 episodes packed into a film released in the cinemas. A film produced by the Backrooms. Honest writing doesn't mean limiting yourself. It doesn't mean you have to stick solely to things you absolutely know. It doesn't mean you can only make social dramas about your grandma. You can make a film about an evil suburban witch, a woman possessed by black magic, or about an endless liminal hellscape, and it can still feel honest and personal.